Markham,
Here.
Miller, Rahman,
Present.
Long,
Here.
Spiz, Johnson,
Here.
Whitebird,
Here.
Smith Charles,
Present.
you have one.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Commissioner Long to lead us in the pledge today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That takes us to item 4, which is approval of the minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve those. That's moved by Long, supported by Rahman. That's October 2nd, 2024. Were there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, we can go ahead and do a all in favor. All in favor of accepting the minutes as they are presented by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, that motion carries. Next is item 5, approval of the agenda. I'll take a motion if it looks good to you all. We can approve it in its correct order there. Moved by Commissioner Johnson, supported by Commissioner Markham. Thank you. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same? Hearing no opposition, this approval of the agenda passes. Next is the 6th item on the agenda, public comment. We welcome anyone from the public who'd like to address this committee on items on the agenda. You're more than welcome to make your way to the front of the room. Give you some time, just in case. Seeing no one moving towards the front for public comment, I'll go ahead and close that first public comment. Next is item 7, communications. We have 2 items under communication, capital planning and design, 4th quarter CIP report, and the Moody's bond rating, Oakland County. I've only been here 4 years. I believe this is a receiving file.
Yes.
And we can take them.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I wouldn't mind talking about the Moody's ratings.
Please, come on up. We love to hear about our bond ratings. Helps us sleep cozy at night.
You're not the only one.
Brian, thank you. Are we?
A motion?
Yeah, I need a motion. Moved by Commissioner Whitebird, supported by Commissioner Markham. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Leffler.
Well, thank you. My name is Brian Leffler, the CFO for the county. I asked to put this item as for communication through, at least through ED&I, and it's also going to be on finance, to kind of put into context some of the things that what you do as this committee that then goes over to finance and then ultimately to the entire board. So there was some good news that came out last week is that Moody's Investor Service affirmed the county's AAA bond rating with a stable outlook, and the same thing from Standard & Poor's Global Rating, a AAA bond rating with a stable outlook. So a little bit background of why I wanted to bring this up today is that if you recall, this committee and also finance actually approved the resolutions for the WRC to issue bonds for a project, the Huron Rouge sewage disposal system. In an amount not to exceed 30 million, and that transaction is starting to go through the approval process outside of these committees and the board. And so in addition to that, as you can, whether you're aware of it, is that the county has the authority to issue bonds under state statute now, based upon your ACFR from 2023, and that under the Municipal Finance Act of Act 34, the state statute requires at least 1 bond rating, but your or the board's policy requires 2 bond ratings for any time you issue debt. So with that, and in compliance with these 2 requirements and your authorization, there's going to be a preliminary official statement that's going to be issued for about not to exceed $18 million for the Huron Rouge sewage disposal system. That's going to be released publicly next week, and that there's going to be a sealed bid by the end of the month with a closing before the Thanksgiving holiday. But there's a few things that I just want to highlight, and I really hope you do take the time to review the correspondence. Moody's has a habit of, at this point in time, they just issue a press release and they give you why, we can't go any higher than AAA. I mean, there's no platinum AAA or anything titanium AAA, but they also give you the concerns of what could be the weaknesses in terms of downgrade. The same thing with the S&P report, they give you the benchmarks. S&P did change their criteria, for municipal governments. Again, we didn't have a negative impact on that. But some of the key comments is that, status of one of the wealthiest and economically productive counties in Michigan, I think we all know it, but it's great that a third party recognizes that nationally. Robust reserves and liquidity position bolstered by an extensive budget preparation and planning. Goes back to your processes that you do, and they clearly understand that. Even your fund balance policies, your investment policies, all those policies that impact, say, what happens across the street or here, the rating agency takes light of that. The one comment talks about this, well embedded in comprehensive financial management practices and policies that have driven operating strength. The BOC establishing the CFO and the deputy CFO position, highlighting your discipline. I mean, here's a third party recognizing your efforts. And then relatively low debt costs and minimal pension pressures. So as you know, in the Huron transaction, while the county is pledging its LTGO or our balance sheet, we're anticipating that there's going to be enough revenue from that system to pay that debt service on most of the WRC bond issues. So as I mentioned, the competitive sale is going to be on Thursday, October 31st, with a closing around the 21st. But as we get these reports, I think this is more information, as you can see, what's going on or how the county is viewed by two third parties independent. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions now or if you have them later. But my goal here is to continue to give you the information as we continue to move forward with any transaction, especially a bond issuance. So.
Thank you, Brian. It was great to hear from you today. LTGO?
Limited Tax General Obligation Pledge. So the county has
What is that, limited
tax general obligation. So your operating millage is limited. In other words, is that, as you know, each year we do a mathematical calculation so that we don't raise anything more above the Headley Amendment. So that's a limited tax. Whereas an unlimited tax, what we would do each year is take the annual debt service divided by the tax base, and that millage rate fluctuates up or down based on the growth of the tax base.
Thank you for that clarification.
Anytime.
Whether Mr. Whiteford followed by Commissioner Rahman.
And then looking through their analysis or their, rate factors that could lead to upgrade, not applicable because there's nothing higher, right? And then factors that could lead to a downgrade, significant declines in available fund balance and net cash ratios to closer to 50%. We don't have that in the
Not at
future,
all.
at the future at all, right?
Right.
And material growth and long-term liabilities ratio above 150%, we're nowhere.
No. Now, and even as we probably heard that, there's gonna possibly be some bonding for the bigger capital improvement plan, that's still not gonna get us close. I mean, the county has a legal debt margin of over $10 billion, the county itself, based on state statutes.
And material weakening of residential income ratio well below 100%. That's not the future, so.
Right, that's correct.
I mean,
But
that would be the things in the future that could affect our rating. But
that's based on what the criteria, that's the criteria from Standard & Poor's, what they use. And then again, the committee at S&P will grade Oakland County a bunch of a cohort. I don't know who those cohorts, like your peer counties are, but we do, working with the municipal advisors to the county, we try to track that. We try to pull different counties.
And this came up, because of this issuance, they're affirming it, that's when it comes up, is when we're seeking the debt. And we always talk about the bond rating at beginning springtime, right? And you guys go meet at the rating agencies, that's only comes up when you're gonna issuing. I think in this year, we weren't, at the beginning of the year, we didn't have to meet with them.
We didn't. If you recall, there was a Pontiac MLK project. It was for $5 million. We were in the beginning of our budget. I was new here. What we ended up doing was sending all the information to them. So this rating reflects, quite honestly, the budget that you adopted on September 19th. So they have the most current information when they did their committee action. So anything that's interesting about finances, I tend to communicate with them just in advance, hey, this is coming, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Rahman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian, great news, obviously, we're excited about this. Just, I thought I saw something about, is it like 3% of counties or something like that get this status or this rating?
Yeah, 3% of counties nationwide.
Nationwide.
Yeah.
So this is something that's really a big deal,
Yeah, this is, we're at the top, so,
very cool.
and that's kind of like one of my KPIs, I can't to bring the county ratings
Yeah.
out, so.
And then how often, I think Commissioner Weipert touched upon this, so if I understood correctly, we get re-rated when and if we go out for other bond approvals, is that it? Or how often do we sort of get this report card?
So this report card is done anytime the county issues debt in a par amount greater than 5 million. The county is required to have a bond, at least one by state statute, your policy is two.
Okay.
In the event that there was no bond issuance in probably a 2-year period, there will be a phone call from the rating agencies like, hey, we wanna do a little surveillance on you. And that does happen from communities that they're infrequent issuers.
Okay, so at the very least, I mean, we're talking 2 years from now, assuming we don't go for any other debt,
Correct.
2 years from now, we
I expect a
have
phone
another.
call. Yeah, and the other thing I'm trying to do is work with the WRC so that we can sequence these bond issuances closer together, is because this rating is quite honestly is valid for 90 days. So if we could share the cost of doing these bond ratings on more than one transactions, again, it's effective use of our time. It's also effective use of the rates and charges that are going back to these local units of government that are paying for that debt.
Got it,
So.
makes sense, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Marco for the first time,
Yeah.
and followed by Commissioner Johnson.
And I think you just touched on this. I think our process this year went smoother than I've experienced in the past. It's gotten better every year, but I think the departments understand what we're looking for now, year to year, and it just was laid out so that a lot of questions got answered as we worked our way through the process. And I just wanna lift that up, as I think that we should continue to do things the way we have. I'm really happy with fiscal and your department and everything you guys did, so I'm happy to hear we got that.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Markham, and thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for your patience. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Real quick, no, you're tangential at best, but who are our peer counties in your opinion?
No one.
Here is probably Kent and Ottawa here in Michigan,
I'm
so.
not asking about Michigan.
Yeah, right, so, the counties are probably out in Maryland, California, in terms of those are the areas, it's just the wealth indicators.
Okay, thank you.
Let's just bask in that for a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Montgomery.
Cause you
That's
know,
what I'm thinking, it's Montgomery.
Maryland, certain parts of Maryland are considered very high capita.
The DMV. It's
Yeah.
the DMV.
Yeah, and California goes without saying, right? So
Right. And what they're trying to do is they have to, everybody has a different tax structure, so they're trying to look at economic, really the growth, it's really.
Oh,
Commissioner Weipert, I think you had something, and then I'll go back to
You
Marco.
mentioned what you said, the costs of getting the rating, so what?
So like on this transaction, the fee that was for Standard & Poor's, since they had actually just done the one for the Pontiac transaction, they lowered their rate from the mid to 25,000 down to 21,250 or something like that. I just got the invoice yesterday, so a 10% reduction is still 10%. I'll
Right.
take it every day.
But the labor, I mean, putting together and staff and putting the material, that's in there too, so it's on top of that.
Right, ours too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
No,
not
it's
talking I mean yours.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
yeah, so one of the things we try to do is actually have the rating agencies send their questions to us in writing so we can actually understand what they're looking for, and then we respond in writing. And that's very helpful, very concise, like, please look to this point, if they're not seeing something inside our ACFR or budget book or something like that.
Commissioner Marco.
I just wanna ask about I know we have a big debt service that's going to expire in a couple of years. Could you just talk to that a little bit?
Yes, so in 2013, the county issued refunding bonds to refund the original transaction that funded the VEBA, the contribution to the VEBA. That debt will be completely repaid in fiscal year in 27, 28. What the goal here is that that annual debt service is probably about 35 million a year. So what we're looking at trying to do is dovetail the issuance of debt for the capital improvements start to mature right after that. So that the kind of looks like we have a level stream of debt service rather than having debt service jump in the next 2 fiscal year, which would cause pressure on the general fund. We're trying to just dovetail that.
Thank you.
Yep. And I think when you see the capital improvement plan, you're gonna see that model. That's how we're trying to show how it's okay to do that. How much could you borrow? How much improvements can you get done with that annual debt service? And it's a good thing with interest rates coming down, our purchasing power is increasing right now.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All questions addressed at this point. As a summary, GOLT is a VFD here in Oakland. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm sure we'll see you some more throughout the morning here.
Thank you.
All right, so then if nothing further on these two communications, we can, oh, sure, Mr. Rahman.
I was just gonna mention, I know Paul's here and I thought Ed was here, I thought maybe he left. I don't know if there's anything on 7A to report or anything significant, from their standpoint, since they're here. If not, I wouldn't mention it.
Yeah, let me get back to there. Did anyone have any particular?
No, not any questions particular. I just didn't know if there was anything worth mentioning or anything from your standpoint.
Yeah.
On any of this.
Well, we can certainly entertain some
Come back to it
insights
if
from
there's
them
anyone,
if
yeah.
you want as well. Nothing really stood out for me besides the color coding. I had to realize that just meant the project was complete. And so it's really your pleasure. I mean, both of them are in the, I've actually had communication with Ed today because I was like, there's green vans in our parking spots. And he was very quick to address that, so I'm sure he's around.
They're having their quarterly meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
Got it.
the
Okay.
building and grounds.
Oh,
No
okay.
worries.
I
Only
saw
'cause,
that's
like I
who
said,
was
I saw
coming in.
I saw him come
Oh,
through,
but there's an item that they're presenting later, Commissioner Rahman,
I can go get it.
item 11.
No, it's totally fine. I was
Yeah, yeah.
curious actually on the HVAC system. I know we had a lot of discussion on that in
Oh, yeah.
jail. So I figured if there was an update worth mentioning, but no, I'm not gonna hold up the process for any of it, so.
Okay. Which one was that by, just so I'm clear?
I think it was at the very bottom.
Oh, okay.
It's number 18, Geo Clinic, AHU and HVAC distribution
Yeah.
replacement.
Cause we had that long discussion
Cause we had a long
about that.
discussion on that, so I was just
HVAC.
curious if there were any updates
Okay.
or anything they
Yeah,
wanted to
because
share.
there's no remarks on that one.
Yeah.
So that is fine, and then if, well, I'll just say Misty will be here later today for item 11A. And perhaps we'll be able to pull them aside, but thank you for highlighting that.
And I just wanted to say how happy I am that item 15 on their project list got completed and it works and we all love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, very good,
And
and
you have to look, I know it's the bathroom.
lovely bathroom.
Yeah.
Good.
Two of them.
I knew what she was talking without looking at the list.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and then prompt the vote for item 7, A and B to receive and file.
You get your vote?
Mhm.
You did? Come up. I got it on e-vote though, got it.
Marco?
Yes,
Did you vote?
I'm doing it
Come on.
now.
I have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries.
Mine came up on e-vote when I did it, but it didn't come up right
Next, we have item 8, which is MDOT, the Woodward Loop presentation. And this is where we, Aaron and Susie, where they present and then we receive the.
Choose to receive.
Okay, very good. So we'll keep with that order. Welcome. Looks like Brett, and you've got some friends with you.
I do.
Kim and Jeff, perhaps. All right, and Jeff, you're with the,
With MDOT, I'm over on the construction side, so
Yeah, you're
I'll
with
be, right now I'm slated to be the construction project.
Excellent, we're glad to have you. And Kim, just a refresher, your role.
Yeah, so I'm the design project manager at MDOT for this project.
Wonderful, I love women in STEM. So,
Me too.
Brett, we know you, and we love you, so, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As you recall, on August 21st, Paul and I were in front of you seeking improvements for MDOT's easements and consent to grade. And at that time, you had specific questions about the loop project that I could not answer. And that's why we invited Kim and Jeff to be involved. Again, our involvement started in 2010. We received a grant to study the loop. The study showed that it was feasible, and between about 2014 and 2022, we've been lobbying MDOT for support, and they fully support it and are designing and building it now. So with that, Kim and Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. And I want to thank you all for approving those waivers on the fee for our right-of-way. We really appreciate that. Anything helps. So yeah, like I said, I'm Kim Colburn, and yeah, Jeff Pitt. We work just over there at the Oakland Transportation Service Center, so all of the work is coming out of that, and I'm managing the designs. We have a consultant on board doing that, and then once we're done, we'll turn it over to Jeff to actually build the project. Next slide. So we call it the Woodward Loop Project, but there's a little more than just the loop involved. So the full Woodward Loop, and there'll be a map on the next sheet. And then we're also doing M59 between the loop. That'll be a full reconstruction. And then Cass Avenue, which is also US 24BR, that will be transitioning from one-way traffic to two-way traffic as well as the loop. So the next slide.
Do you, let me just pause for a second, Kim. Do you prefer we wait for questions, or if something comes to mind on the slide?
I'm fine either way. Yeah.
I'm just curious, Cass Avenue, you called it?
Yes.
Is that the same Cass? Like that's downtown?
Here, the blue is Cass.
Okay, because I know they kind of run parallel to Woodward. Okay, thank you.
So yes, this part's Cass, that part's Cesar Chavez up there.
Oh, so it's behind,
US
going this way, going to
24BR.
US 24.
So it is just the one way.
Yeah.
Is it going towards?
Thank you.
Yes,
Right
it's
now.
going towards
Yeah.
Oxford, right, that US 24.
So yeah, with that Cass Avenue will be converted to two-way traffic, obviously, because once Woodward is also, you'll be able to come up here two-way and continue all the way up.
Okay.
There'll be resurfacing with that. And then this portion to get the two-way traffic, it's not getting any full reconstruct, just in portions where we need to realign things. Because the way it works, you have the full 5 lanes of traffic in one direction. We can get 2 lanes in with a center turn lane without really doing too much pavement work, and the pavement's in good condition at this time. A lot of traffic signals will have to change with that, and then this work here is the reconstruct of M59 or Huron Street.
I have a question about that one.
Yeah.
So if you're coming off I-75 on M59 basically, or University or whatever, then you get down into the city of Pontiac and you have to make that little funky jog to get back into M59. Is this gonna fix that?
We are hoping a little bit, but you're
It's
talking
hard
when you
if
go
you're-
through
when
the
you're in the
loop,
wrong lane.
Yeah, if you're
Right.
going west, right in there, yep, you gotta turn on, I think it's Pike or State,
Right, you
State,
turn
one of
on
those.
Mill or right here, yeah. you
Yep,
go
right there, and
across
you gotta
and
make that little.
Oh, you're talking about by the church? That
Yeah.
part?
Yeah.
By the church or
It's
the bar,
just-
whatever it is
if
now.
you don't know
Church
what
or
you're
the
doing-
bar.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know, because we come here all the time, but if you don't know what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Oh, no, it's hard, 'cause people will
It's
cut, they don't know where to go.
Coming up 75 or down 75 to get to Pontiac and this center,
Yeah, you gotta know
I
your
just
way.
think that's a funky little hiccup, and if you can
Yes.
fix
We
that.
are trying to, at this time, we have it included so that this section right here, cause this is just one way, and that is why that jog is kind of there, because you can't turn. So currently, we do have that as part of the project to turn it, but it is reliant on some real estate that has not been.
There is
Because we
buildings all
do,
there.
yeah, the church parking lot right there, so we will need to
You
obtain
need
that,
us
which
to go
hasn't been
stand in
on.
their lot and talk to them about this, you know?
I can't say that, but.
No.
Just following up on that, I'm sorry, how, elaborate, because it is the way it is because of not downtown Pontiac, but because of the end of the the freeway portion of
So you will
59.
still have to turn left, but you would turn left onto Woodward instead, I guess. So, you know, right now you can't turn left, you have to head north.
Right.
But being two-way, you could turn left and then turn right onto Huron. So it would be more on our system, not sending you, you know, into the downtown.
Yeah.
So you would instead turn left and then turn right. But because it's one way right now, you cannot turn right currently.
So it just moves the stepladder one block to
It
the
does.
east.
It does, but I'll jump
But it's
in
on
for
main
just a
roads,
second,
though.
Kim.
Yeah.
So as part of the original study that was done with the county and the city, the freeway portion was mentioned, but it was outside of the study area. Say, this would facilitate that opportunity at some point in the future with another project to fix or to change that freeway portion if we can get this last block through downtown. That's really the barrier at this point to connecting 59 straight through downtown, you know, until we get that last block, because it's 3 lanes one way headed east. So we don't have, you know, with the amount of traffic, we can't just make it, you know, 1 lane each direction and a center left turn lane or something like that. So it has been looked at, and I think if we can get this, it opens that opportunity to connect that in the future with another project.
Okay, and this is contingent on the former Clutch Cargo parking lot.
Oh, that's what it's
Why?
called.
I guess I'm just wondering why do you need the
Flashback.
real estate?
So.
Cargo. I
Well, on
remember
one
that at the
end,
bar church,
again, the hope is the traffic will turn, you know, that's what the model says, you're gonna wanna turn left to turn right. So we need to add a right turn lane there, so that impacts their property some, and the same thing, a little bit more pavement on that end to fit in these lanes. So
The addition of a Michigan left makes it too wide, or?
it's just a right turn lane. So we would need to add a right turn lane, so an additional 12 feet, pushes the sidewalk back a little bit further.
Okay.
So at the church property along M59 through Huron Street proper through downtown, in that last block, there's really only enough right of way for the 3 lanes. So what we're doing is, in that area, we're gaining another, you know, 25 or 30 feet to add those 2 additional lanes through. So that's,
I see what you mean, cause it's considerably wider right to the west of it.
Yep.
I'll keep asking for later.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think we can proceed.
Okay. We can go to the next slide. All right, so these are just some of the goals of the project, obviously. Created a bit of a barrier effect when the loop was originally built. It's 5 lanes of traffic going around there. Tough to, as a pedestrian, to get across or feel comfortable getting across that. I just drove it today, and it is a lot when you see 5 cars in one direction all looking at you. So with this, you've got 2 lanes on one and 2 lanes on the other. Should help with that. And we're hoping it creates more connectivity between the business district and the neighborhoods. We're gonna be able to add some on-street parking along with that to encourage some more economic development in the downtown area. And we do really wanna increase the safety for all users. Right now, it was set up in the 50s and 60s when this was built. We're moving traffic. Today, as part of MDOT's goal is more complete streets. We wanna make sure we're supporting the use for everyone, whether you're a pedestrian, a biker, car user, so this really helps provide that for the community. The medians will help calm traffic, slow people down a little bit, and then those addition of the medians should help people feel comfortable crossing. Because it won't, you know, it's still 5 lanes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm gonna throw it to Commissioner Johnson.
Real quick, on that note, and I was gonna wait till later, but lane widths. You said 12 earlier, is it 12 all the way across?
Yes,
Can I ask why?
that is our standard
That's
lane width.
MDOT's standard, cause that is AASHTO's high speed standard, not high pedestrian and high volume standard. 10 feet is really what they prefer in urban areas like downtown Pontiac. How can I change your mind?
I'm with you.
Well,
And I think one of the other challenges, with this project really not being driven by pavement condition, which is what as MDOT we're normally driven by is, hey, the pavement's in really poor condition, we need to tear it out and replace it. This is really, based on the community's wants and desires. But we're trying to leave as much of that pavement out there as we can, so the existing lanes are 12-foot lanes. We would either have to go out and rip out more pavement to move those, or what we found over the course of time is if we try to restripe those lanes, because there's existing joint lines out there, drivers naturally follow those joint lines. So it causes problems if we try to sort of narrow up what's existing. I don't disagree with you as far as, I think narrower lane widths help with those speeds and the mobility of pedestrians and bicycles, so.
Is it, and not to drill, is there a policy within MDOT that says we prefer 12-foot lanes?
Our design manual is set for that,
Is that statutorily dictated, or is that something that can be dictated in appropriations boilerplate?
And we have a design exception process. Sometimes we don't have that. We have plenty of areas throughout Michigan that there might be a 10-foot lane. That's not our state because it's tough for a truck. I don't know if we would ever really go to the 10-foot, 11-foot. Yes.
Tough for a truck, tough for an old lady crossing the street. I tend to err on that.
Understood, yeah, it's but yeah, like Jeff mentioned, I mean, the most part is we're not reconstructing everything. If we were, we would definitely take that into consideration, but being this is what we have, we're trying to stay in the footprint, so.
I understand. I just want to change it, so.
Well, the good thing is you have a direct line to Lansing.
I was gonna say, I can draft a bill if that's what I have to do, so.
I'll throw it over to Commissioner Markham.
So, along with that, a lot of times when we talk about mobility and adding bike lanes and that sort of thing, we're dealing with streets that we can't do anything with because they're already narrow and so on. You've got real estate here. So my question is, are there protected bike lanes that are planned as part of this on either side? I think about what they did down on 9 Mile in Oak Park and so on, where they had the protected bike lanes, they have parking, but 9 Mile goes right through like it did, right? You got 5 lanes here. Is there anything we can do with that space to add availability for more mobility options?
I do not think so. Again, with that, unfortunately, we have too much, I guess, for your narrower lanes, but not enough to add a bike lane.
There's bike facilities.
There are offline. We're
Explain what,
putting
yeah.
the trails along the outside, so we'll have 10-foot trail along the whole corridor as well, but it will not be on the actual roadway.
The lane width topic, the bike lane topic, and it wasn't with Jeff and Kim, we hammered MDOT for years on that, and they were not real warm to this project when it was completed in 2014, and it took some time to get them on board and to fund it. So I do think we got an extremely good compromise plan. It's not as aggressive certainly as I would have liked to have seen, but it's being funded, it's built, it has pedestrian and bike facilities, it has two-way traffic, it has on-street parking, it has medians in certain sections. They're queuing up for the potential two-way segment of that last piece of M59 in town. I think they've come up with a very good plan considering the MDOT's purpose for these state roads and the capacity that they need to carry originally. There was a study done in the 60s that projected the volume to be 75,000 cars a day. It's at max now 25, maybe 30,000 cars.
Because they used to have those 2 GM plants out in that
Direction,
direction.
the construction of 75 greatly changed that projection. So
Big difference,
I
75
don't
to
know,
25,
Commissioner,
wow.
I think they got a good solid
So
plan.
I should have asked this question in 2014, is what you're telling me.
I did not change the answer then, like, I think is what Brett's telling you, we tried. I feel
No,
like you
I
said,
get it,
do-
it's,
yes,
we're way
they are.
down the pathway here, but, you know, I'm in a lot of meetings where we're discussing mobility and
We did
and
it
doing
on
this kind
Perry
of thing,
Street, and
so-
I'm not sure that that went over as well.
No, and I
So-
guess I'd also add, 5 lanes is too much for a one-way condition. But the trick is by converting it to two-way, we're basically using all of that existing pavement to be able to do the conversion, be able to move all the traffic that comes, into downtown and through downtown. So
Yeah, it's just not quite enough for what we would need for a bike
for
lane,
protected
right?
bike lane, okay.
So we could shrink a little, but not enough to get you that.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I mean, they're not complete, but yeah, we can move to the next slide.
Yeah,
It's a kind of a rendering of
You can move
what,
to the next slide, but before
Oh,
you
yeah, okay.
go on, I see
Yeah.
Commissioner Rahman had a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a quick one for you. Piggybacking off Commissioner Johnson's, idea with traffic and pedestrian, how friendly it's gonna be. Any thoughts or consideration on pedestrian either bridges or tunnels? I don't know from an aesthetic or functional standpoint if that's even feasible. But I just wanted to mention, because again, when you're talking 5 lanes of traffic, even if you go 2 and 2,
still the same.
the distance is still the same.
It is,
So
absolutely.
as a pedestrian, I don't know, maybe I might feel a little bit better crossing, but it's still a lot of traffic to get across. So I don't know if that might be a more cost-effective alternative or if it's even feasible, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, I think, the biggest challenge with pedestrian bridges is typically for state trunk line, we have to be minimum of 22 feet bottom height for our beams above the roadway. And to make that ADA compliant, we would be building ramps, a half mile long, not a half mile long in total, probably about almost a quarter of a mile on either side of that bridge to get you up to the top of the bridge without putting in some sort of an elevator system or something to make it ADA compliant. In the old days, we'd build stairs up them, or we'd have the spiral ramps that were, fairly steep. None of those meet the current ADA standards and requirements.
And
So-
tunnels?
And tunnels sort of face the same type of deal where, it's okay to get them down below ground. And tunnels are sort of frowned upon just because they tend to be dark. They're an area where, they're sort of out of sight, where things, not pleasant things can happen. We hope they don't, but
Part of the complaint,
Yeah.
Phoenix Center.
I'll set there,
Yep,
Commissioner.
thank you.
No, I
Right.
just gave it to
Over to you, Kim.
Okay, so yeah, here's the rendering
Center
a bit
was
of what we expect the south end of the loop to look like. So help depict, it's still the 5 lanes like you've said, but there's medians in some areas to stop on, just a bit friendlier looking if you're a pedestrian.
This is on street parking on the eastern leg of the loop. That was originally called Park Street. And the design will not necessarily change the jurisdiction, but will have this piece of the loop function more as a local street, slower traffic. And this will be, the western leg will be the loop that will carry the bulk of the traffic up to 59 and onto Cass.
Right, that will still function more like the wood, it's a continuation of
That-
Woodward.
That little piece right there is the connection to Woodward that'll go, past our new
Oh, yeah,
office
that's
building.
in the new Saginaw, right, yeah.
Yes.
This one, yeah, the new Saginaw, and then with working with Oakland County on that, with the Phoenix Center coming down, and they're hoping to get it all the way through, so a good new connection there too.
Very good.
There's another rendering on the next page. So just an idea of what it will look like. You can do the next one. All right, so just some additional items we're doing. There's a lot of landscaping. We're coordinating with Oakland County on adding water main and sanitary sewer upgrades. Usually in this type of project, we would just replace whatever we impact, but we've been working with them and they wanna jump on board because we've got the pavement open, now's the time to do those improvements. So they're doing some of their own work as well. Obviously the sidewalk and non-motorized pathways, both in the, I think the majority of the way, it's in the inside and the outside of the loop, if not the entire way. We're upgrading all of that. Lighting will be upgraded, obviously all the traffic signals will be modernized for two-way traffic, and then signing pavement markings. Go on to our schedule. So right now, there was a bit of a delay. We were hoping to start construction in 2025. We're still working on all of our real estate acquisitions. There's about 85 parcels that we need to acquire, mostly consents to grade, some easements for sidewalk. So just getting through that process is taking a bit of time. So our new anticipated completion for design will be September of 2025, then starting construction in the spring of 2026. And that will be, I'll go into the maintaining traffic after, and then it'll continue through 2027, so 2 years of construction. And then we would not be doing any work during the winter. We'll have a shutdown there.
And I guess just to speak to the construction just a little bit, so the first year we're looking to do.
That's the slide we're on,
Oh,
Jeff. Do you
okay.
wanna take
No,
that?
no, no,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, sorry.
Not looking at my slideshow, huh? So yeah, the first year, 2026, we're gonna do the reconstruction of Huron Street in between the loop. So that will be a full closure of Huron in that in between. There will be some opportunities to continue to go through on Saginaw, but we'll try to keep the north-south open. Some intersections there, and you detour using the loop, because we do have that still fully one direction. Then, like I said, we'll have a gap in construction there during the winter, open all the roads to traffic, and 2027 we'll start to reconfigure the loop. It'll be done in sections, so there'll be lane closures, some portions will be fully closed and detoured. We'll also plan on reconfiguring CAS during that year as well, and same thing between lane closures and full closure. So it will be impactful to downtown for 2 years. I'm gonna get that out there, but the good thing is with the two roads kind of going around Pontiac, you should have a way to get through.
Great. Well, the next slide is your contact info, so
There we
let's
go. Look
get
at
that
that.
up there for people who
So,
wanna follow up with
yes.
you.
You know, and I wanted to say, we will have a project video that's coming out that we can share with you. It'll kind of have all those renderings on what's going on. And then we're starting to do some more outreach to the community again, now that it's getting closer. And, you know, feel free to reach out if you or anyone in the community you know, send them to us. Jeff and I are happy to answer any questions.
Great. It just feels like Pontiac is just, it's like the Disney one, and it's just making it all new and fresh and exciting again. This is generational for some of us, because honestly, that loop frightens me since a child, and I always get lost, and thank God for GPS, and so this is great.
You talk about generational.
Yeah.
I remember when they
have GPS,
when the
we'd have
loop
figured it
was
out.
built, and they had a
Trip to-
party before they opened it on the loop, and everybody in town came out and it was a big dance party.
Nice.
So whenever I hear that song about dancing in the streets in the Motor City, that's the image is we did that on the loop in Pontiac, and I was like 9 at the time. Yeah, so
You, Jeff, can get a
No,
new party going when it's
you know,
done.
it was
Dance,
cool.
go dance in the
I
streets
always
together.
laugh because, Saginaw Street was US 10.
Uh-huh.
That connected Dixie Highway, that took us all the way to northern Michigan, all the way down into Florida, Georgia, that was
Yeah.
the road at the time, so like Brett said, with the addition of 75 and interstates and that, things have changed over time and,
Yeah.
hindsight being 2020 did we always do make the best decisions or understand the impacts of those decisions?
Right.
No, but I think
I
that's
think
really
this
the goal of
is
this
right,
project is to try to
Pretty
address it.
exciting.
Yes, I'm gonna throw it to Commissioner Rahman.
Just a quick question, and I know Sean's here in the room too. Timing of this versus timing of moving us to Pontiac.
I mean, we've talked about the fall of 27, so they're talking about wrapping up November of 27.
27,
So
okay.
that seems to be aligned. That's what we've shared with the community.
Okay.
So I
So
think,
so hopefully the transition of us won't be impacted by this or vice versa.
I think they'll be mostly done with their project by that time, it looks like. A biggest concern would be Orchard Lake and Auburn Road because the demolition will start to take place in November, December of this year. It'll take 6 months. That road's gonna be shut down. Fortunately, Huron will still be going on, but as that road comes back online, that's not intended to be 2 lanes, both sides going back and forth, and people usually use that as a cut through. We're trying to slow down traffic, create more of a pedestrian walkable community, so we're not gonna have the 4 lanes flowing through there anymore.
Since we have Sean's attention, I just wanna say this committee is ripe and interested in viewing any demolition of large structures, so just send us those invitations as they come available.
Throw the wrecking ball.
I'll order a sledgehammer and a helmet.
Commissioner Johnson.
The hardest.
Did you enjoy watching the Trump
Drive down TNT train thing. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll talk to
See,
you
no
later.
one invited me to that.
Brett, this is actually mostly for you, but for everyone too. Above my pay grade, but there are hot rumors of desperately trying to get BRT on Woodward Avenue. Is this easily accommodatable should we inevitably succeed in that?
That's above my pay grade as well.
Fantastic.
I know the original study, we identified a route for BRT to go through the downtown, and I don't think that anything that's being planned would alter that. The BRT would probably be, I would think, probably rubber tire BRT that can make the turns. So we can look at that in more detail, but our original study had BRT through the downtown.
Okay. I just don't want anything to like be stamped and then a BRT project like all of a sudden appears.
No, MDOT has been working with SMART too on bus stop locations
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, we have actually, right, we're trying to do a whole meeting with them too, cause they're very interested in what's going on at the Phoenix Center and all of that.
I wish you luck in
coordinate.
trying to get a meeting with them, so.
They always say when you're very close to things, acronyms you're used to these acronyms, BRT, please, sir.
Bus Rapid Transit,
Oh, yeah, you were correct.
basically a little streetcar, but it's a bus,
Got
so
it.
it's easier.
Very cool. Okay, I believe that wraps up this presentation, so I'll take a motion to receive and file. What's a good one? Commissioner Markham moved, supported by Raman. Anything further on this, we can then prompt the vote, please.
Oh, yeah, refresh my name.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
It's been received and filed. That takes us to item 9 on our agenda, which is Economic Development Department recommendations. We'll start with 9A, Exchange Project Transformational Brownfield Plan in the City of Pontiac. I'll take a motion this is a recommended forward to finance. Can I get it? Moved by Commissioner Whiteford, supported by Commissioner Johnson. Thank you both. And it looks like, oh, good, online there. Good morning to Brad and Kristen and anyone else reporting out on this. We have a motion and everything, yeah. Tell us about this Exchange Project Transformational Brownfield Plan in the City of Pontiac. And whoever, yes, go ahead. Do we have someone?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I know, it's like, can you hear anyone?
Who might that be? Is that Brad?
Yeah, this is Brad. I just, if we're ready, yeah, it's, so Brad Hansen here along with Kristen Wilfang. We're just getting ready to share our screen, so we have a presentation to share.
Okay, thank you.
Along with me, I have the development team on this very exciting project. I have Dennis Griffin, who is the lead developer on the project, along with Eric on his team, and I believe Delaware Younger from the City of Pontiac is also on the call. I will start off with saying this project has been meeting and in some stage of development for since at least the summer of 2023, where I became involved in the project. And I believe Dennis can probably say it's probably been going on further than that. Sorry, having a little problem with the PowerPoint.
No problem.
Just want to see everybody. Just want to be able to see that too.
I don't think you can.
So with this project, it's the first transformational brownfield project in Oakland County, which is a pretty big deal. Transformational brownfield program came in about in 2017 with a change in Act 381. Basically what that is it's and forgive me for making this comparison, but it's basically a traditional brownfield program on steroids. And when I say that, it takes the traditional eligible activities and increases the eligible activities and allows for more capture. So a traditional brownfield, you have the traditional property taxes that's eligible to be captured by local and state taxes. So you're allowed to capture that. But in addition to that, you have some other capturable taxes that can be used for other additional tax capture. But I'll get in that in a minute. But I wanted to first go over the actual project. It's the Exchange project. It's in downtown Pontiac, which is great for this presentation we just had about the loop. It's going to fit great with the loop project when it's completed. It's a total investment of $105 million. It's 18 parcels and about 7.5 acres. There's going to be a brand new build of 287 units of multifamily. Of 20% of those units are going to be at 80% AMI for affordable housing. And there's also going to be 125,000 square feet of new mixed use or rehab mixed use building, the old Oakland Press building, and as well as the Waterman building off of Saginaw Street. So it's north of Huron Street and east of the Loop and west of Saginaw Street. The overall transformational brownfield plan value is 79.2. The local tax increment financing capture is 15.9. So that's what you really see for the local brownfield capture. What we usually see in a brownfield project that comes to this board would be the 15.9. The state capture, the transformational brownfield capture, what the Michigan Strategic Fund Board approves is 63.3 million. So the local taxing, the brownfield portion of it is 25 years for the brownfield portion of the local and state portion. Then the state transformational portion is 20 years. Next slide.
Hey Brad, totally next slide, but I'm just curious, local tax increment, that 15.9 million is captured over that 25 years. And much to like our whole TIF conversations we've been having for a while here, that is directly going to the community? The community gets to keep that? Help me understand.
So that's capturable to be reimbursed to the developer for their eligible activities.
Okay, all right.
So what that is, it's the increased value of the property. So the base value, let's say the property is the 18 parcels that, let's just say, we'll use round numbers, it's $100,000 in current taxable values. That $100,000 is still being captured by all the proper taxing jurisdictions. It's whatever the increased property value is created by the development is being captured and reimbursed to the developer for their eligible activities.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep. So here, again, here's the transformational brownfield plan. As I mentioned, this was passed in 2017. We have, as I mentioned, this is our first transformational brownfield plan. It was a little bit of a learning curve for myself included, as we haven't had one before. Luckily, Dennis and his team worked on one on the west side of the state in Grand Rapids a year or two previously. So they had some knowledge on the process with the state. I will say that the process with the state and city was pretty comprehensive. There was a lot of back and forth over the last year and a half, 2 years, a lot of review. There's a lot to go into this project as far as the state reviews. It's, when I say it was fully vetted, it was fully vetted. There was a third party that the developer had to pay for as far as getting everything vetted, and that the state also did a deep dive into all the performers that the development team put together. So basically, the TBT will have to go to, it has to have a transformational impact on the local economic development, and it has to be part of community revitalization, obviously. It has to be a mixed plan or mixed use development containing a combination of retail, office, residential, or hotel use. And for a community like Pontiac, there's certain criteria you have to reach. For the size of Pontiac, which is between $50,000 and $99,999, the project has to be at least $50 million. In this case, the project is $105 million, so obviously it fits in that criteria. You'll see the different capturable taxes. You'll see the last one on that list is the property tax capture. That's what we would see typically in the brownfield. And the other ones where it says state approval, obviously those are the transformational aspects with the state approves for the increased taxable value on the eligible activities. Then on the bottom sentence there, you'll see the eligible activities, including demolition, construction, restoration, alteration, renovation, etc. So those are the eligible activities that the developer will be reimbursed for. Next slide. Before I turn it over to the development team to show you what they're planning, I'll just show you, this is the footprint of where they're looking at. So you'll see the Woodward Loop on the bottom left. Huron's on the bottom of the screen. Saginaw is on the right-hand portion of the screen. And Lafayette is on the top. And so the red dotted line, everything inside the red dotted line is portions they control and will be part of the project. And with that, I believe I will be turning it over to Eric, and he will be giving the rest of the presentation.
So that's where the TIF capture is in the red?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Toomey. Thank you for the opportunity to present this transformational project to all of you. Sorry we're not in person, so it's kind of, I'd like to shake your hand, see your faces, meet face to face, but unfortunately we are on Zoom right now. I'd also like to introduce Dennis Griffin before I get into the deck to see if Dennis has anything he would like to say, as he is the lead developer.
No, I just echo, our gratitude for your time and consideration, and we're very grateful for all the effort from Brad and his team, from Deborah Younger, the mayor of Pontiac, and staff, and the team at the MEDC. And we've been on the meeting today, and just like as Brad said, there's some timely things that make this even more exciting. The magic wand comment is very, very interesting, with the kind of melding of initiatives from the loop, from the county's major investment and faith in downtown, with the move to the Phoenix Center in Ottawa, the trails coming through, and our philosophy is mixed use and mixed income of scale. We want to make a difference, and you see kind of the confines of our development. It's a sizable portion of the city and a sizable development. That's where we want to focus our efforts in this transformational plan. And, the encouragement is for other entrepreneurs, developers, not-for-profits, or whatever it may be, to be investing around us, where everyone is, pitching in, investing, and we get a full lift on the whole area. Again, thank you very much. And Eric will get into, more detail of the project.
Thank you, and welcome to the both of you. We're ready to go as you are.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm not controlling the screen, and I'd love to have like a little red dot where we could control stuff here, but I'm going to do my best to orient you to this. So Brad gave you where the project was bounded, and you can see within this the red dotted line. Broadly speaking, though, there are three components to this redevelopment. The first is the Exchange Flats. This is a mixed income 287 unit multifamily development. You'll see some renderings as we go through in terms of the scale, the size, the material composition, the amenities. The next one is where it says the Press and Arts Building. We are renaming this the Tech and Arts Building. This is a 75,000 square foot mixed use project that would include event space, traditional office really focused to the tech sector, if you will, and then also maker space on the ground floor. And this is sort of this garden level that sort of hones in on Pine Street. The other third, and we'll get into that in a little bit more about the projected tenant mix there. El Centro is 91 North Saginaw. This is about a 55,000 square foot building, previously a department store. And the intent of this is really to be a not-for-profit mixed-use office retail community hub. One of the anchor tenants that will be going in the building is Centro Multifamily or Multicultural Familia, which is a long-standing not-for-profit in the area serving the region. More specifically, though, the Hispanic community within Pontiac. And so there's going to be some interesting uses within this building that spin off from that user, that office space. And so as we go through this, you can see that in totality, this is a $105 million redevelopment. And sort of breaking it out into the categories, the Exchange Flats, as we said, 287 units of multifamily. Deborah Younger, thanks to her, recently, I think as of last week, we got an affordability agreement approved for that 20% at 80% AMI. There will be naturally occurring sort of attainability in this building as well, but notwithstanding for the period of 15 years, this project will be at 20% at 80% AMI. It's about a 335,000 square foot building. In addition to that, Tech and Arts, again, tech-inspired mixed-use adaptive reuse and event space. The idea in the back end of the building that you saw there, if Brad, you can go back for 1 second, is to really, where a sort of you go north from the Grand Hall, is to create a food hall, hyper-local, hyper-focused, hyper-destination-driven, and family-oriented. Probably have about 12 stalls of local sort of food entrepreneurs, of giving them the opportunity to, at a sort of low occupancy cost, to come into the project and provide, great food, great beverage, great service, and with the hopes of either staying or opening another establishment within the project or throughout Pontiac. Next slide, or go back to the other slide, Brad, thank you. El Centro, as we said, I said 55,000 is about 59,000, excuse me. But again, this is sort of small business, not-for-profit, community-centric office hub. Any questions with respect to before we go into the existing conditions about the overall sort of vision and program of the development?
You do have a question from Commissioner Long.
Yeah, thank you. I think it goes along with, before we move slides. So just with our previous presentation of the Woodward Loop, so that 287 units of is the Exchange Flat, is that right next to the Woodward Loop on the map, right? Am I correct? All right, so I'm really concerned about the walkability now with adding with our previous presentation. I think that we need to kind of work on that Woodward Loop a little bit. That's gonna be hard to cross. There's gonna be way more people in that density now. So I am concerned, so I wanna put that out. I'm concerned now too.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, because that's 287 units times, say, 4 people, per unit. That's a lot of people, and a lot of them are gonna wanna walk. So I'm a little concerned about the Woodward Loop, our presentation previous. That's all. I just wanna put that on record. I think we need to make it more walker friendly.
Well, definitely the bipartisan
walking.
feel of this conversation is not missed on me.
Right.
And we do have their contact info though, and let's just keep them in the loop. And I know Sean was here and others are listening as well.
Just because that's a lot of people and they're gonna walk. I mean, that's what you're trying to make Pontiac stuff close to walk to, so, okay.
I don't want to overstep my boundaries here, but I think as developers, we would agree with you that walkability is key and really to drive and having good urban design principles. And so you can see this building is really creating that hard corner between Huron and Woodward. And so having that walkability, I think we would agree with you implicitly, is very important.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to bring that up
Thank you,
and agree.
Commissioner Johnson.
Since we're nitpicking, I'm curious, are there bicycle parking spaces? And where are they?
Okay,
go ahead, Dennis.
Definitively will be bicycle parking spaces. And as we advance the plan, we probably will have some intentional, but hopefully developed over time, organic passageways. Pine Street, for instance, just west of the former Oakland Press, is now a private street, but it looks and functions like a public street. So that area, we would expect to have a lot of, like bike drop areas and adjacency right to the building. Within our larger multifamily complexes these days, bikes are very important. There's generally interior bike rooms, including repair shops for residents to wrench on their bikes. So absolutely, that is a necessary component. Some larger clusters of it, but definitively interspersed throughout the entire exchange development.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Just reading from Pontiac's city code, bicycle parking is, quote, required in conjunction with off-street parking lots that are bigger than 25 spaces. At least one bicycle space shall be provided for every 20 required vehicle spaces. And then related to that, there is no minimum parking requirement for non-residential purposes within the C2 Central Business District of downtown Pontiac. And I understand that there is a housing component to this, and I'm totally tolerant to that. But this committee knows that I'm not a fan of surface parking lots in general. So I'm curious, are there plans to eventually replace the majority of the surface parking lots within this TIF zone with structures that can be beneficial to the tax capturing base?
Yes, there's a lot of intentionality to that exact notion. You'll see that for us to activate it very quickly and successfully and affordably for our clients, surface parking is the solution for the time being. Within the exchange flats, there's a structured parking podium style parking, which is less than 1 per 1. So I think it's about 0.75 per 1 unit. So that's in balance for an urban housing component. I would expect that the surface parking between Tech and Arts and the exchange flats would remain intact. If you see the two parcels just west of El Centro, both of those we have plans sketched, but they just were not feasible at this point for multifamily over podiums. So the intentionality is those lots can go vertical over time.
I am so happy that you said that. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that question. Gentlemen, you can proceed.
This one, Brad. This is the old Oakland Press building, the front facade along Huron Street, just giving you a flavor of what it looks like today, and the fact that it's not, we're doing an adaptive reuse, but this isn't a true historic renovation utilizing historic tax credits. That said, the building and the facade and all of the ornate treatments along the parapet is fully refurbished to its original glory. So just giving you an idea of what the front looks like. Next slide. This important, as Dennis described with Pine Street, the image that's to the sort of, I'm calling the slide the northwest slide, but let's just call it the left or uppermost slide there. This really creates that sort of walkable feel. And when we talked about the maker space and the creative space in the building, below the windows, sort of at grade, if you will, you can see that there's a mezzanine space within this. The intent here is to open that up, create maker creative spaces in this. That was previously there, actually, prior to Dennis taking over ownership of this building and recreating that more formally with sort of a community artist hub. And to the point of creating that walkability, having that bikeability, this will really create sort of that node that goes north to south within the development. And Dennis calls it these passageways, but these sort of organic ways in which people will move about throughout the development. So to the point of bike parking, I think this creates a great opportunity for public bike parking along with private bike parking as we move forward in the design of the development. Towards the upper right-hand corner, you can see where this food hall concept would be. That's the existing condition today. Open that up, create a very inviting experience there, have it both indoor and outdoor, and really have it family friendly all the way around. On the bottom, you can just see sort of the full existing elevation of the building today, what that would look like. You can envision it, and we'll show you kind of what the 287 unit exchange apartment would be that would go literally right on that site. Right here is the backside of El Centro, which is 91 North Saginaw. To the commissioner's point about the 2 parking lots, these would be the 2 parking lots in a separate phase that would be redeveloped. However, that's not the focus of this project, of this current phase today. The intent is to take this building and take it back to its original glory, putting ground floor retail with that community-centric office space. Next slide, please. This is the front elevation or front facade of the building. The intent is to remove this and bring it back to its original glory and put ground floor retail on each bay that you see along Saginaw. We have renderings of that towards the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. You know, when you're heading south on Saginaw going into downtown, this really will create the opportunity of another node, of another sort of gateway into the city. And you can see that what the rendering looks like in terms of that pedestrian feel with the ground floor cafe and a ground floor restaurant, of how that will be conceived. And so when we show you a rendering of that, you can see exactly how it creates that sort of gateway into the downtown heading south from the north. Next slide. This is exactly where the 287 unit exchange flats would be situated. To the point of the other commissioner, of course, there is traffic. So we got to find a way to have traffic calming mechanisms in place to accommodate this project and really create the true urban feel within it. Next slide, please. Again, another image of it a little bit closer to that Woodward Loop. Next slide, please. And so this is where you can see what the total investment is between the 3 separate uses. The exchange flats is approximately $80 million in total, 287 units. The Tech and Arts, that 75,000 square foot redevelopment or adaptive reuse is about 16 million. El Centro is about a $9 million investment. So in totality, it's just north of $105 million, rounding a bit for simplicity's sake, but a major investment into Pontiac, and particularly into that sort of northwest quadrant of the downtown. Next slide. A lot of numbers here. So I think what we're focusing on are these buckets, right? What is a TBP? Why is it different than a transformational, than a traditional tax increment financing? In the TBP, these buckets you can see is the construction sales and use tax exemption. This comes from the state of Michigan. This was approved through the act, the amendment of the act in 2017, and subsequently, I believe, in 2021. And then in addition to that, you can collect construction period income taxes for the people working on the site. So this is material tax and income tax for the laborers on site during construction. Income tax capture is for the people living and working in the development. We have gone through a serious, as Brad said, a serious vetting process with the MEDC, continue to do so. But administratively, we've gotten full administrative approval on the plan to move it forward to where we are today. Withholding tax capture is also another bucket. Sales and use tax is what's sold out of the building. We can collect that sales and use tax, bring it back to the development. Statutorily, the TBP runs 20 years. Just on the TBP side, so those are these buckets that are state enabled, that are approved by the Michigan Strategic Fund. So you can see we're maxing out the 20 years. And then where we are today, and with what the OCBRA approved in the combined work plan, and also City Council approved the concurrence of that at the City of Pontiac last week too, is the incremental property tax capture for the schools. Really state, but still approved at the MSF board and locally, and then the incremental property tax capture at the local level. So when Brad showed that $15.9 million number earlier, you can see that it's comprised of these 2 buckets, the 6.7 and the 9.1. At the local level, frankly, the 9.1 million is the benefit that the locality is bringing to the project. It is over a 25-year period. Statutorily, though, TIF can run 30 years. The project, based on eligible activities, will be fully repaid in that 25-year period. So that is how we are sort of thinking through, not sort of, but definitively thinking through the value of this transformational brownfield plan. I think today what we're seeking is sort of a vote from you guys to move this forward to the Finance Committee and then move it forward to the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. And so that's ultimately where the capture comes from, how it's situated within the act of Act 381, the amendment tied to the transformational brownfield plan. If I may, before we go back into the numbers, because I have a feeling you're going to ask some questions on that, is if we can, everybody loves pretty pictures, so we'd love to show you a couple pretty pictures of what this will look like, and then we can go back to any other questions you may have. Is that okay?
That'd be fine.
Great. So this is the Exchange Flats facing west, but looking east. You can see the intent of this is to have a highly amenitized project along Woodward. Still in design, frankly. And you can see it's high-rise construction. You can see there's balconies on every single unit. You can see at the corner of Huron and Woodward, the brick. That would be a podium style with parking within contained to the project. And then you can also see how it really hones in with Pine Street. So it creates that adjacency to Tech and Arts, and they play on each other. You know, rooftops are great. Rooftops also allow for office to come. It also allows for retail to come, and it's sort of the chicken and the egg. You build the retail first, you build the office first. In this scenario, there is no chicken and the egg because it will be built collectively together in one full phase, really creating that opportunity for walkability, really creating the opportunity for the rooftops to support the retail and the office to support the multifamily, and vice versa. Next slide, please. Again, you can kind of see how this is flowing within the overall project along Pine Street. Next slide. And this is El Centro. So we talked about changing the facade. This is a complete change to the facade of removing that sort of 1990s, late 80s look back to brick, opening up the ground floor with a bistro and a cafe, creating that sort of European style seating. And really opening it up to the street to create that walkable gateway. Again, looking south from the north along Saginaw. And next slide, please. And then an evening shot of what it would look like on a beautiful, beautiful Indian summer, if you will. And with that light. Now, we're not wed necessarily to a red light there. That could change over time, but it seemingly matched the color of the of the sky, so included that. But I think what's important to note, frankly, is again that street grade activity, creating that pedestrian feel, creating liveliness along the street, and creating a gateway into the downtown. And so, broadly speaking, that is the project. And again, as I mentioned on the number slide, we are seeking the subcommittee's approval to advance this to the Finance Committee later today, and then move it to the Oakland County full Board of Commissioners. Process-wise, once that's done, it will generally move to the MSF board for full approval, likely in early January, and we will then move into full design and move to construction commencement.
Thank you so much, Eric and Dennis. I can tell you've studied our processes here, or how things move along the pecking order. So with that, I'm going to throw the microphone over to Commissioner Long.
Thank you. Good presentation. So I'm just wondering, do you have any estimation of what the range of the rent will be for those apartments?
Yeah, across the board, it will range from approximately about $900 a month all the way to about $1,800 a month. The average rent will be approximately, as it's currently conceived, about $1,400 a month across all unit types, including studios, 1s and 2s. The average square footage of the studios are around 550 square feet. The 1s are about 750 square feet, and the 2s are ranging between 900 to 1,100 square feet.
All right, so what did you say, 900 to about 1,400, did you say?
On average, across all unit types, it's
Okay,
about 1,400
so obviously
square
the
feet.
studio probably starting at 900. Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions for this item?
They weren't 2,800.
Seeing none, we will go ahead and prompt the vote on 9A.
You know,
I pay $13.50 for mine.
it's about the most you can own.
Oh, no.
Nice at 900. You want something $3,000 a month on there.
People who live in San Francisco pay like $4,000 to $5,000.
Marco?
Oh, I'm sorry. it isn't coming up, so I forget. Vote works, yeah.
Oh, there we go. And Johnson?
Yes.
Now after she's done.
I'm sorry, 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries. So we will see you gentlemen, some of us will see you again at finance in just a little bit.
Oh, that's my finance.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
next,
you all very much.
you're welcome, thank you all. Takes us to 9B, guys. I'll take a motion to, let's see, this is a
Airport,
recommendation to the board.
we just had it.
9B, Economic Development, Aviation
All of
and
us are on it.
Transportation
Majority.
grant contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation for improvement of runway lighting at Oakland Toy Airport. Moved by Commissioner Rahman, supported by Commissioner Markham. Welcome, Cheryl. I see you got a few items coming before us, so we'll start with this one.
I do, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our first item is, as you say, a grant acceptance project that we are about to embark on at Oakland Troy Airport. This is the second phase of the reconstruction project we had of the taxiway runway out at Troy. And this will involve the improvement of lighting of the runway to LED lighting. The grant is $593,299. 5% local match is required, and there's a 5% state match as well.
Okay. And I imagine these are, the lights are focused down so they don't create unnecessary ambient lighting in the night times for the residents nearby.
Right, but they are required to meet the FAA
Of course.
standards, so.
All right, any other questions on this item? Seems pretty straightforward. Thank you. We can go ahead and prompt the vote.
Yeah, we all just, half of us just heard this
Yes,
on airport committee.
before I hit
Yes.
save.
No, just a really quick question, and I don't know if I'm being dumb about this question, everything's LED?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I was waiting to make sure that didn't change my vote, so.
I'm sure it would not, well, I don't know, sodium has me all up and up these days, so.
You have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. 9B passes and is recommended to the board. Next, we have 9C, which is the airport land lease with Robert R. Redner at Oakland County International Airport. I'll take a motion to recommend to the board. Moved by Rahman, supported by Commissioner Smith Charles is fine. Over to you, Cheryl.
Thank you. This is essentially a renewal of an existing lease with a long-term tenant at Oakland County International Airport. And their lease was set to expire in about 4 years. It's a 20-year term. And they came to us with a request to extend, which is not uncommon. Usually when these long-term land leases start to get under 5 years, the tenants get a little nervous. So they came to us and requested a refreshed lease for a new 20-year period. So that would go into effect December 1st of this year and run through November 30th of 2044. So this rate is set at the current established rate at 30 cents per square foot and would be eligible for an increase every 2 years, just as all of our standard leases are.
Okay, that's good to know. The husband and I were talking about a jet purchase.
Oh, good.
Let's come see me.
You need a hanger?
I was like, Oakland County, it's not going to Wayne. All right, so with that, I don't see any other questions or anything.
Could
We
have
can
said
prompt the
airplanes,
vote.
you can get little small ones for 60,000.
Seriously, it really came up.
Cheaper than a truck, but you can't get a jet for that.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
Great, 9C passes and is recommended to the board. I'm gonna go and rewind us just a little bit to 9A. Maybe she said, don't forget 9A. But I do need to read a announcement for October 16th EDI meeting, right?
Oh.
Do that finance.
Right. Hear ye, hear ye.
Oh, gosh.
A public hearing on the adoption of the transformational brownfield plan approved by the Oakland County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for the Exchange Project in the city of Pontiac shall be held on October 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the Oakland County Board of Commissioners Auditorium at 1200 North Telegraph Road, Pontiac, Michigan.
You just like to say hear you, hear you.
I do.
That's the best part.
And so that takes care of our
Yeah.
legal requirements for that 9A.
The stuff, hear you, hear you.
Now I will entertain a motion to recommend to the board 9D, which is the easement for water main service to Waterford Township for Midfield Management LLC, lease parcel E, Hangar 5. Moved by Commissioner Robbins, supported by Commissioner Long. Paul has joined Cheryl at the table. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. So, Midfield, Maven, and build a new hangar, so there's space for your new jet there.
Yes.
And since if the hangar's new, it needed service, a water main service, and Waterford requested a permanent easement.
Might need to go on real
So
estate.
it's simply a service line, a water service line, permanent easement on county property. So we're granting, we would like the board to approve this easement to grant that easement in perpetuity for that building service. And it's a dollar easement, so it's quite common out at the airport when there's new buildings, you know, consumers, DTE, water from the township. So this is simply that easement request.
Okay. Any questions on this one?
These guys are running and
I
it's a
don't
walk.
see any.
You know.
I have full faith and confidence in your recommendation here, Paul, and when I hear perpetuity and easements, I get a little nervous. But I'm certain we have good reason for that, so we'll just have to come find you in 36 years if it doesn't work out correctly.
Yeah,
With
we
that,
will, we'll find it, won't we?
we'll yeah, we'll go ahead and prop the vote.
Maybe not me, you're younger.
Sign you in heaven.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries and is recommended to the board. Thank you.
Sorry you had to stay so long, Cheryl.
Yeah, thank you for your patience.
As long as it's 8:30, you know, or 8, she's
Yeah,
been here since 8.
Takes us to item 10 on the agenda, Materials Management Planning Committee recommendations. And this is item A recommendation to the board, Economic Development Materials Management Plan Work Programs. And I believe
Yes.
Whitney, good morning, and Kristen, good morning again. Floor is
Good
yours.
morning, Commissioners. We're here to,
I'm so sorry, I just need a motion to recommend this to the board, moved by Johnson, supported by Whiteford. Thank you.
There you go.
Over to you, ladies.
thank you. We're here this morning to ask for your approval of the work program that has been developed for the Materials Management Plan. You may recall that back in June, the Board of Commissioners filed our notice of intent to prepare the Materials Management Plan. That triggered a 180-day period of several milestones, of which getting this work program approved through EGLE was part of that 180 days. So we're coming up on that deadline in early December. We have initiated 2 meetings of the newly appointed Materials Management Planning Committee so far. And the committee has reviewed this at both of those meetings and then offered feedback and unanimously approved the work program at the last meeting on October 2nd. Basically, this is an outline of how we plan to attack this materials management plan as we're going along. If you look through it, you'll see we opted to include all of the steps that have already been taken as far as doing the notice of intent and getting the committee together. But really, this is the outline of how we're going to move forward. And our next step is developing a request for proposal for a consultant to assist with this plan. We're working with the committee to review that. Actually, there's a meeting next week where we'll be going over that, getting feedback on that. And once we have this work program approved by the State Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, and Environment, we will then be eligible to apply for the grant program that's associated with the materials management plan, where every county will be eligible for that grant program. So really, I'd be happy to answer any questions. This is just kind of high level, our outline of how we plan to meet all of the requirements of the plan, and happy to go into more detail or answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Whitney. And just for clarification, the plan itself is this draft work program, that's what you're submitting?
Correct. We are asking for approval of the work program at this point, yes.
All right. Looks very robust and comprehensive. I am curious, the committee that is put in there, is that a standing, a committee that meets on a regular cadence of some sort?
Yeah.
Do you guys know yet?
They're great on it.
Yeah, that's what I said, it needs to be appointed.
Yeah, the Management Planning Committee?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Yeah, so so far, we've just had 2 meetings, and one next week, but then we're planning, we have kind of established that starting at the beginning of the year, we hope to have a monthly standing meeting. That's our plan at this point.
Okay, and I do wanna, I don't know how you arrived at the composition, but I do like that you have, I don't know why, but it keeps disappearing, telling me my page load failed, but you're getting that too. So I can't directly point it out, but it was someone from like World Green Thumb or World Green People, that I thought was a good addition to that. But other than that, I don't see any more questions for this item, so we will prompt the vote. Oh, that came up next.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. That passes and is recommended to the board. So thank you, ladies. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Item 11 on the agenda is facilities management department recommendations. I'll take a motion to recommend and forward to finance facilities management building management system BMS phase 8 replacement project. And I see Misty at the front. Thank you. And it's moved by Commissioner Wypert, supported by Commissioner Markham.
Oh, the jail, yes.
Please do refresh our memory on who you have with you today, Misty.
Yeah, myself, Misty Rates, with Facilities Manager of Capital Planning and Design.
Good morning, Steve Foster. I'm the architect project manager that has been doing the BMS master planning from the inception until this phase.
Yeah, so morning. So morning,
Yeah.
okay, good morning.
Hopefully.
So this project specifically is addressing the building management system, so BMS. So this project, as it moves forward, will replace the manual, pneumatic, antiquated controls that are associated with the heating and cooling mechanical units. In addition to controlling and the mechanical units, it also controls the components associated with those HVAC units. When I say components, the associated dampers that control the airflow, also the temperature sensors that control the temperature of that specific airflow as well. So this provides more energy efficient controls, also provides controls that can be monitored. When I say manual, it's face to face in front of those controls. So this now allows for controls that can be remote, accessible through a web platform, whether it's at a computer or whether it's via your smartphone now. So with that being said, Steve, like he mentioned, he's been the manager from phase 1 to phase 7 and also manager associated with phase 8. This project is specifically to continue the replacement of the controls for the court complex, the west wing specifically, and this project also is to start the controls replacement at the jail. Because of the size of the court and the jail, it's taken multiple phases given the value allocated per year for the building management system controls replacement. So the recommendation is to move forward to finance. This is an approved project in the CIP for 2025. So happy to come forward with the first 2025 CIP project for moving forward. Any questions? Steve is here also to assist with any questions.
Excellent, thank you. First up is Commissioner Rahman.
Thank you. Missy, thank you. And just to emphasize, I think you already hit on this, but all of this BMS Phase 7 is exclusive to buildings that we know we're going to be using for quite some time. So none of this is gonna be impacted by the transition to Pontiac. So I just wanna emphasize that. And I know it's listed here in the summary as well, but I just wanna highlight that piece.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else on this item? Well, I appreciate the report. We'll go ahead and prompt the vote.
This time I went too early on my logo.
Finance, 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion carries and is recommended and forwarded to finance. Thank you both.
Thank you,
We'll
everyone.
be a little later. Next, and certainly not least, is our Office of Sustainability recommendations, item 12 on the agenda. I'll take a motion to recommend and forward to finance the Create One PTNE Sustainability Specialist position, moved by Johnson, supported by Rahman. Thank you, Erin, so much for your patience. Great to see you.
Thank you.
And the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. I hopefully this is a quick one. So we were fortunate enough to have the AmeriCorps member, My Healthy Climate Corps member over this last term. Their term will end in November, on November 15th. We were hoping to be selected again as a host site for that AmeriCorps program at the state. Unfortunately, we were not selected. So the proposal in front of you today is to shift the already approved funding from that AmeriCorps allotment for the cost share to a temporary part-time position over this next year, sunsetting next year in September of 2025, so that we are permitted to reapply for the AmeriCorps program.
Righty, let's see. I see a in real life hand. Mr. Johnson?
No, thank
Over to
you.
you.
I just put a digital hand up too.
I see it.
Hi.
Hello.
So, does transitioning this role to part-time to like keep the foot in the door, does that set us up better next year to actually get the match funding again? Or is that kind of irrelevant and you just wanna keep programmatically going? Or?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't know. It is a competitive process and, I did speak with some of the representatives at Eagle to kind of inquire just to understand the reasoning why we were not selected this round. And it's just a competitive program. So hopefully we'll be just as competitive next year and see if we can do it. It's a 3-year run. But the purpose of the conversion for the PTNE is so that we can continue some of the work that we had originally anticipated for the Office of Sustainability, specifically in regards to the advancement of a new greenhouse gas inventory to understand where we are currently based on our 2018 baseline, as well as working with some of the Southeast Michigan Healthy Climate planning process and identifying how we as Oakland County can advance climate work. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, but it also inspires another one. I guess I'm like wondering, and you can't predict the future obviously, so like, did we want a full-time position, but then like, because this is shifting from a full-time position to a part-time position, correct?
Well, not exactly. So the AmeriCorps program is a cost share program where service members serve a certain time frame, and usually the host sites have a requirement to match some of their funding. It is through the federal government, passed on to the state, and then entities can apply to host them. AmeriCorps program is a great program. I'm a former AmeriCorps alumni, and I was really hoping to advance the AmeriCorps program here in Oakland County. And so I don't know. I think I fully intend to continue to look to see how we can advance the AmeriCorps program here. And, since we already had the funding approved in the budget, I was working with the HR team and seeing if it was a possibility. So since we already have the funding approved, having that temporary assistance is better than having no assistance, and then seeing what we can do in the future.
That's for sure. I just like, I worry for you long-term wise if it's this like rickety thing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner
And this
Wyker.
is the person we approved, and now you're gonna shift that person to part-time just to,
It's the same
Well, I
same
hope
employee.
that she takes on the part-time role. I can't guarantee it that
Yeah.
she will be the actual person that does it. But yes, it would be ideally to have a similar amount. So the AmeriCorps program, they have about 1,200 hours I think they need to complete or something like that. This would technically be 1,000 hours, so it would be a little less hours wise, but effectively it would be the same thing. We'd actually be able to pay this person better than an AmeriCorps member in this part-time role, so that's a positive, but that's what we're trying to work out.
Without naming names, but did this person report out to us at a
Yes.
meeting recently where
Yeah.
there was a
Yes.
lot of red shirts in the audience and they got a chance to talk to a full auditorium?
Yes, what a great opportunity, right?
I sure hope that person chooses to stick around.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Me too.
Well, with that, I will go ahead and prompt the vote.
5 yeas, 1 nay.
No, I'm kidding. Thank you, that motion carries.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time today and that gets recommended to Board and Finance. All right. I believe that takes us to our second and final public comment for this committee meeting. Is there anyone who'd like to address this committee regarding anything? You got 3 minutes. Now's the time. Seeing no one?
Lynn's waiting to get in her chair.
Oh, okay.
Never mind.
for finance.
All right, so with that, I'll close the second public comment. Is there any other business to come before this committee? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.